here. Thank you for coming, and this is the first time that really that we've got together by ourselves. It's not part of one district, but they are just providing the medium. And I call it the Olive Association. I don't know if we formally formed an association, but that's what we can call it, the Happy Valley, the Olive Association. And, you got anything?
You keep talking, you're doing fine. Good.
Okay.
This one's all on you.
Okay, well, not all.
Well, not
And this is just gonna be a discussion on where we wanna go with this thing. And I do know, I don't raise olives, I don't know anything about olives, but I do know some stuff about agriculture and farming. I was raised as a farm boy, and I've been involved in it, and I still own a small farm. And I just changed farmers and changed programs of what we're doing on the farm and stuff. Kind of aligned with Pedro over here, or Pedro. More forage and constant cover crop. There's always something growing, and sometimes it's cut and fed to the livestock, but sometimes it's tilled under, and we're growing species that have got long, deep roots that's going to, in time, improve the soil. And of course, the soil is where it's at. So I do know a little bit of that kind of stuff. Kind of some news. Some of it is just kind of general information, but this young lady here, she just started up, just opened up a Facebook page for the farmers, the market, the Happy Valley Farmers Market. That's what it's called, and if you search that, that's what will come up on Facebook. And so if you have anything to sell, some agricultural products, garden products, anything, crafts, anything like that, you could advertise it on there, sell it on there.
But it's not a flea market site. You make it, you grow it, you produce it. That's what a farmer's market's for.
Right, for locally grown stuff and.
But that includes olive oil, if you are harvesting olives and producing oil, so.
The second thing is, Elizabeth and Pedro Bencourt, that they sponsored kind of a regional get-together with a nonprofit, an agricultural nonprofit, and it's the Community Alliance with Family Farmers, and it rained, but so we stayed inside some, and we had a pretty good group, I think, for kind of rainy day in Happy Valley. We had a pretty good turnout, and then the rain stopped, and then we drove out there and we looked what they're doing, gardening and the olives. But this nonprofit, I didn't even know about them. And once I listened to them, which was good, their executive director stopped in, and which was good. We had our discussion, but then I went on their website, and holy smokes, they're a lot larger than I thought, they're statewide, but they're big. I mean, man, oh man. If you're looking for some, advice and help, legal advice, any, if, they don't do it, they'll send you to where, somebody who doesn't know, to talk to you about your situation.
So the Community Alliance of Family Farmers have it on their Facebook page?
No, they've got a, website.
Okay, so just look up Community Alliance of Family Farmers online?
Yep. It would take you right to their website. Community Alliance.
Is that one of the cards? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we dropped off a few cards here from the meeting.
Okay.
You can read it off, it's, caff.org.
Okay,
So I
that's
think-
how to, access that, contact them.
Okay, CHFF.org.
Yeah.
And,
Talk a little bit about some of the opportunities that they talked about too. Like, possible grants or legal advice in forming a co-op or an association. So we could get some strong advice on how to do it properly so we don't run into tax issues or whatnot. If that's something you guys choose to do, or we, since I'm an old bird too.
yeah, I was surprised because, when we first got together, I made a bunch of phone calls and emails and trying to get some help on forming, a group. And it turned out that, this person would send me to this person and then I went back around to the original one. And there just wasn't any grants or funding at all, and they just couldn't help us. But it's nonprofit though, that's what they do, and they can, if they haven't got somebody on staff, they'll send you, because there's several groups that kind of keep touch with them and everything. So, there is some possible funding and lots of advice on forming a group.
Let's ask, since you guys arranged it, do you have any other comments or things you'd like to add for us to know about?
I don't think so. I think you covered what's relevant to this group.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and, one thing, and I don't know if it's disturbing, but it may be just, expected. We sent out a survey, and we got 6 responses, I think there was 6 of them. So that's really trying to form a formal, group. I'm sure if we did, there'd be people that join us.
Yeah.
I know that, and we still might want to look at doing that. But we may want to start out a little bit slower, I don't know. If somebody got a comment on that?
It's easier to attract participants to any association or activity once it exists. It's difficult to get them to go in on permission or formation, so your premise is sound.
Yeah, and we've experienced the same exact thing on Firewise. The Firewise started with a big group, and now it's real small, but we were supposed to get funding, once you got Firewise certified, the funding would come in. Well, we haven't seen
chipping program,
Yeah,
and that's, what is it, out here, on, January first?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, in January,
In January?
I'm not sure the date.
All right, we need to get
Sometime
something
in
out.
January. Yeah, I think it takes, people gotta see some progress or something, before they physically get involved in that. And then, biggest, of course, the biggest problem is we have a lot of small growers, and they don't know that much about selling olives or managing, the orchards. And so, lots of the stands of olives are not being, picked at all, or harvested, or
Yeah.
managed.
A follow-up question to that, are any of the pickers still out here? Or have they left? I've got someone who asked me.
Yeah,
if they were still around.
the pickers that my dad uses, I think they're still around, but they're
Okay.
not gonna be around for very much longer. Just
Exactly.
a couple of weeks, maybe.
Right, I've got
Just about
someone who
done.
has, I think, 20 acres back here interested, so who do we contact?
Well, does he have a buyer for the olives?
I don't know.
Uh-huh,
They were, simply asked if the pickers were still around,
uh-huh,
so I'm trying to help that out.
okay, yeah. I know that there's another guy that's been going around with his own crew. I don't know how long he's been out here, but he's harvested a few orchards with his crew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there, an amount that is typically charged per ton, or, I don't know how it's charged, but some of the smaller growers, things like that would be helpful for them to know.
Yeah, I don't know, Brian, I think you had that crew out at your place?
Yeah, they wanted to buy Savianos for $100 a ton, and we would just take them.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I wouldn't get anything but a little cash for that.
yeah, wouldn't cover your water.
Well, it's better than them rotting on the feet, I'm not gonna.
Well, I understand that. But typically just pickers, if we can get some idea what they are charging.
Well, the ones that we use are paid between $7 and $10 a box.
Okay,
How big's the
that's good to
box?
know.
40 pounds, 40 to 50 pound boxes.
Right.
Recently, I've seen a truck, big truck with a trailer with huge crates on it. It looked like harvest crates.
Or
I'm thinking,
40
here we
pound
have to work on that with the olives.
Right.
And they were heading, east on Scout Avenue, so there's just one street out of that, all the streets.
So, and
Big
if we
semi truck.
can,
You're talking about a big semi truck?
and,
Yeah, I think those are the ones coming out of dad's place.
Okay, yeah, because your dad's been harvesting all along.
Right.
So people went there, he was there, and 20-foot line.
Okay, right.
That was a good one, just had the
Yeah,
instructions.
he's got water up there for you.
and whatnot.
Yeah, right.
If we had an olive press plant, which apparently is the cheapest, for lack of a better word, setup, then your tons would actually have a true value, because the pit gets higher someone picker, and then it would produce, I don't know how many gallons it produce per ton, but it's double digits, 10, 15, something like
It
that.
depends on the other one, but up to 40 gallons
Per ton.
per ton,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Pretty cheap.
That's
So
right.
how many tons did you have?
Savianos, I'm not interested in making oil because it doesn't make very much, but I do make oil with my mission.
With your emissions? How many tons of emissions do you think we have?
Oh, I one.
One ton? Well, better than to sell for $100 if you can get 30.
Oh, no, yeah, I've made 45 pounds of oil.
Yeah.
Okay, and, are you selling the oil?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know some people who are interested in buying it.
Yeah.
Soap, people who make soaps. Also, a gentleman who runs a farm to school program, Steve Westerby, and he's interested in buying 40 to 60 gallons. So there's a possible market for it.
His price is pretty low
Is
for
it?
what it costs us to produce.
Oh,
That's good to know. Well, that's something you can negotiate, because I know The people making soaps are paying over $200 for
That
a
is much
5 gallon.
more accurate. Oh,
Yeah.
for 5 gallons?
I believe it's a 5
Oh,
gallon.
then that's not.
$40.
Yeah, 40,
$40.
$45 a gallon.
Right, yeah.
I mean, ours is at least $75 and that's just to break even.
I understand that, that's good to know.
Oh, I missed that one,
For them to break even, they need $75 a gallon on the oil.
for all of it, break even.
And that varies year to year, you know, depending on our yield.
I know walnuts, you know, one year they'll sell for 80 cents, next year $2.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's strange, so it's similar to almost,
It's the cost of water, and the
Yeah.
cost of
Oh, yeah.
labor.
we have connection to water here, I think.
Well,
Depends on the year.
You gotta factor in pruning the trees too.
Trees,
Do
I mean-
any of the pickers prune trees that are out now?
yeah.
I've got, ties into somebody out of Corning that does tree pruning. I've used them, so I'm just curious.
They don't usually stick around.
I understand.
Yeah, they're done here and then they're off to Ventura County.
Sure.
Oh, okay. So, so if we did, do a commercial press here locally, what would be the best way to go on that?
Form an association first and look for a grant to help fund it.
We have I kind of take it, we have two small presses here, Pedro and Kearney, it's got one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Gary Pepe's old mill over on Olinda Road.
Yeah.
It needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
a
got a
fix it.
building,
What's that?
It needs
Yeah.
some funding.
and it's got a press.
It's got a
Or
press.
to, get it up to more of a commercial.
Yeah, so we've got one, I guess it's functional, one that,
They're both not functional. Ernie's,
both not functional.
yes, Ernie's broke. It's a really small mill. I mean, it's really for like
okay.
somebody who's
Craft
got
olives.
maybe, who's got maybe a couple of acres of olives, you know.
Okay.
And even that will take you probably weeks to mill.
You know what a big one costs?
Oh, you're talking,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
real money, like
Uh-huh.
$1 million plus, you know.
Yeah, I looked into it about 20 years ago and tried to find a used one, and there weren't any in the US. You were looking going out, big shipping costs, and I think starting was around 400,000.
Yeah.
You know, and my 4 acres don't support that.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Do you take yours to a processor to?
Yeah, we do. So this year, I took just a couple of ton of mine. I took a ton of my cousin Ernie's, and then a ton of Brian's.
What do you charge per ton?
They charge us per ton we go all the way to Fairfield. So it's quite the trek, but it's a reputable miller. Brian can tell you, they do a great job. We arrive first thing in the morning, we're almost always first in the morning. They know beforehand that, you know, we travel from really far away, and we come back the same day with our oil.
Nice.
There's no
That-
wait.
that is good.
Right. And we know it's our oil.
Right,
That's
yeah.
a big deal.
Versus going through, what is it, Olive Pit and Corning?
Well,
Well, I can't speak for everyone, but the experience that I had, was it Orland, the miller in Orland?
Civic Sun was in Orland.
Oh, Pacific Sun, they were a great
No,
miller.
they were actually just like Orland.
Yeah, they were in Gerber,
Yeah.
they were in Gerber. But, I think there's a miller in Orland, I think in Orland. I forget what the name of the miller was. I think he sold his mill, so he's not doing it anymore, but it wasn't a great experience.
Was that Lucero?
No, it wasn't Lucero, it was,
The Corning olive oil.
was it the Corning Olive?
That was the one in Corning,
Okay,
right next to the big Bell Carter factory.
okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, then I
And
think
it
that
was,
was,
very old, decrepit, some guy bought it last year and ran it, and we did our oil there last year, and it was better than previous years, but then he, didn't do it at all this year, so.
Oh,
Didn't do it.
No,
Okay,
very tough on those machines, you know? It really is, it's a hardcore process. A lot of moving parts, very heavy. Take a lot of power.
Most of your hours go for canning.
No, we, yeah.
What do they charge you, for milling, per
When all
ton?
is said and done, you know, they charge you per container.
Okay,
Right, the milling, is $660 per ton. This year, our yield was 42.5 gallons per ton. They charge us $130 per every 30-gallon barrel. And, yeah, it was expensive, you know, to get our oil, it was like $2,000. And it was about 100 gallons, you know, pretty close to 100 gallons, but.
then you'd almost have to buy bottles, print yourself a label and sell it as a premium product. Drop a jalapeno in or some,
Don't contaminate it.
Yeah.
well, no, you know what I'm saying.
It's really good.
Craft oil.
Right. Well, it's
Do you
really
have your
good.
own label?
No, we don't have our own label.
You sell to an oil labeling company?
No, we
Just to friends and
friends,
Friends?
work
word of
colleagues.
mouth, yeah.
That's a lot of oil for friends. You know,
Yeah.
friends.
We'll end up consuming about
We make a lot of friends.
10 to 20 gallons just, you know, per year, just us.
Yeah.
Right.
So you could be listing on the new, farmer's market website
Yeah.
now. That would help you out.
Yeah.
Red Bluff High School they sell their own oil, Viking oil,
Mm.
and I don't know how they do it, but they've done it for some times. That's their game, the football people. Spartans, so take that Spartan oil. And whether they have an orchard or whether they take everything, they have breast, I don't know, if they have their own oil. I guess I should call and find out. But now I'm graduating.
$130 for a long food grade container.
Okay, really, really wonderful.
So that's gonna
Well,
run
do you think
you
there's enough small growers here that have a
$790
medium-sized press
for
economically viable?
I don't know, they're pressing that, exactly how many trees we're talking about.
I have 32.
Yeah.
Yes, and some of the, all the guys talking said that's about 3
Remember, they
times.
press some of the oil.
Yeah.
It's gotta go to something. It's gotta be
We'll
food
take
grade.
care of it. Yeah.
Right now, it is all around.
They're charging for the 30 gallons.
There's different ways to market things. You can actually go to the farmer's
For
market,
the
get like a 5 gallon bucket with, gallon and a half of olives, and then the recipe for curing it. People find that type of stuff fascinating. You salt cure, lime cure, give your own theory on how to dispose of the water once you're done. And some people will buy those time and time again because they just like
So
the idea.
craft oil, right?
And what size container was that?
The, guy that owned my mom's orchard, he got there from Fresno,
Okay.
and that's where they took their olives, and I asked them, I said, why do you want Cebuanos? And they said he mixes it with a, mission variety, and gives a mellow flavor. Because the mission variety is really like a tardy, so he kind of looks every year for Cebuanos. I said, you're lucky we had a hailstorm, because it ruined half the crop, and, so we didn't really get to pick that much of the tree. He ended up with 50 tons out of our orchard, which was amazing. I mean, if we wouldn't have that hail, we would have had a bumper crop. But he's in Fresno, and he was supposed to bring some oil back up from him, because I wanted to try it instead of a little mellower than just the mission variety. But like I said, you know, we have Cebuano, so there's no reason to pick for oil, unless it's damaged or something like that.
Well, sounds like possibly we could maybe talk to this nonprofit about funding to set up a mill for ourselves and just see if we can find a used one somewhere and just see where it goes. And it wouldn't be just the mill, it would be the whole setup. And then we'll get somebody to run it. Like
Somebody's plural.
somebody's or
Yeah.
something.
Well, I think we're almost getting
I'll be retired shortly and will have some extra time on my hands, but, you know, I've never been oil before, but I would be willing to donate some property and a space to put it all up and
That's good to know.
ask for volunteers to help.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like I said, we would probably never pick our orchard for oil, but, you know,
Okay.
people that wanna do it, I'm game.
To get a grant, we need to form a co-op or an association. You know, we can't apply as just a few individuals. So we have to have some sort of legal status, otherwise they're gonna tell us to come back when we're ready.
Well, Dennis and I had talked a little bit about the role of the CSD, and I know,
Advisory,
Like-
facilitating.
well, but CSDs have a lot of potential scope of authority in statute, right? Like you can run
Yeah.
power, you can
We're a
run
special district,
recreation,
so-
yeah, absolutely. So I actually think it might be easier to run this under the CSD, if that's
What, CS?
the community services
District.
district.
Oh, yeah, you brought that up, and Paul,
Well, we're gonna have to probably go through legal to see.
If that's even.
I can't put all of the customers of the district at risk for just the olive groves. I mean, there's a responsibility, I'm on the board of directors for the water district, so I have to look at it from the standpoint.
I mean, it's a really valid point. I mean, we have a lot of latent powers, as
Yeah.
they say in the state legalese world. I mean, there's a lot of community services districts that are park districts, that are fire districts, that are things like that. So there are some things that we can do under our latent powers as an agricultural, support district or something like that. We'd have to check, but it might be still useful to have an association, that's with that, right?
What if you incorporated a commercial kitchen into the facility so that it wouldn't just be all growers, but anybody who wanted to process their own homegrown fruits or something that you can't just do at home, but you need a commercial, like, for pickling olives, you can't pickle them at home and then sell them, you need to do it in a commercial kitchen. Then you can sell them, legally, but you need a commercial kitchen space.
Or a cottage kitchen license
Yeah.
through the county.
You can't do fermented food in your
Well,
home
yeah,
kitchen.
you're right.
Yeah.
It's gotta be inspected.
I'm thinking of the people at the farmer's market who sell the jams, the breads,
The
even
non-perishables.
the honey.
Mhm.
That might also be a requirement for, bottling and properly selling a bottle of oil. I think you can't just bottle it at home like a
Yeah.
house do. You need to do it in a commercial space, and a commercial kitchen might have the legal facilities
right,
to make that work too, that you can have a product that you can stick on the store shelves.
I was around, my dad helped Pepe all the time fixing his press and stuff, and he got inspected by the county
Right.
to bottle it, yeah.
Did you do it in the mill building there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Well, you gotta have a weights and measures sign off on it, and all the rest of
Yeah.
those kind of things as well. Well, the other thing too, that the district could help with, and I get a little bit of this in Sonoma County for a couple of ag districts, is there's some California state law related to business improvement districts, or it's called a BID. And so it's basically a coalition of the willing, that are wanting to put themselves into an organized way of doing that. So those are some of the options. Again, it's really up to the organization, all elements of this, and then we would take that to our board to make sure that we can spend a few resources to look at it.
yeah, Robert.
This is a community service district,
Correct.
so it could, depending on the charter, do all sorts of stuff. Same as city could do, actually. You have your own police force. But is your charter apparently limits
But
you?
only if you're the chief of police.
I'm sure all that. They have to shoot them, actually, that's not good business.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. You might have to, if your charter probably limits you to water, you might have to amend it. And there is such a thing as amending it to include some sort of agricultural endeavor.
all latent powers, is what it's called, in the state's special district law, and it lists a lot of them, like I said, there's park and rec districts, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, there are districts out there that do water, sewer, parks and recreation, and other elements of things, and there are special districts for agricultural purposes, but it's pretty specific, and it's usually managing sort of whatever an association of agricultural producers are asking it to do, basically.
But it can be within, it can be an organ, a community service district.
You'll be surprised, you're right, I mean, literally this district, if the people wanted it, could become a city, almost, I mean, almost. But right now, we only do water, and that's enough headache for me. But again, I think there's opportunities here, but part of it is you gotta have this discussion amongst those, as I like to call it, the coalition of the willing. I mean, you wanna get together, work together to try to solve things. A lot of business improvement districts now, you know, my family's in the vineyard and wine business and, in Sonoma County. So a lot of their stuff is for marketing, you know, types of things. And it's appellation based, right? You know, over and we grow, you know, special soils, you know, the marketing pitch. But that could be something too. I mean, you're obviously trying to raise the value of your product so that you can afford to harvest it, transport it, and you know, process it.
With a local press, it wouldn't work for you folks if you have so much, in other words, you have to be for smaller growers, because you grow too much, it wouldn't work for you. You need a bigger press than what could be put in here.
It grows too much.
No, I mean, we only have 5 acres, so it really isn't that much in the scheme of things. I mean, we have, like, your dad has like 80 acres, right? So, but we would, to serve the whole community, we would need a large press.
Large commercial.
Yeah, you have to figure out how much oil is actually being made or
Yeah.
could be made in this area.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody wants to get oil made, you have to, that's a long drive, Corning or Fairfield or.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people have 50, 100 trees, 30 trees.
Yeah, I mean, does anybody have an idea how much oil gets produced from our trees in Happy Valley? I don't think anybody knows.
He takes
No,
it
I don't
down.
know. Like,
Oh, from your trees?
well, no, I mean, like area wide, we don't know who's harvesting their
Oh,
oils
yeah.
for oil, you know? Or how many mission trees are, you know, are in a certain region.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mine are
it seems like
mostly Sutherland.
you wouldn't, like you guys were saying
Some
earlier,
region.
you form the committee and then you might start getting input from people.
Right.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
And then you would decide what size mill is the right for the community and how many days a week are you gonna run it for how many months? And are you gonna, are big growers not gonna be able to use it, 'cause it's not fast enough? Right. So there's,
Well, yeah, and you might even find out, back to the Fresno example, I guess, that, you know, maybe you do wanna press some portion of your Savianas if it makes a product that's more
Right.
saleable, right? But I think a lot of it has to do is you gotta kind of form it and go out there. My guess is there's close to 400 acres of olives in this Happy Valley.
There used to be 20,000.
Yeah,
We've got, for sure, we got about 640, about a square mile, 640 acres. But some of it is small scale.
I know, but still, I mean, that's something for an organization to use, right? And then you can kind of figure out what is necessary.
If you could gain, or if you could buy the olives from the people that just have them in their yard.
Right.
I mean, you'd have to get a release and stuff like that, and then when olive season, pay them a portion of what, you know, kinda like what the guy paid my mom, you know, $100 a ton, which isn't a whole lot, but at least they get something out of their trees.
They're not messing up
They're
their
just
yard.
growing, they're not dropping to the ground, they're making a mess.
we do that with our neighbors, we pick some of their trees and we can throw them down of oil in there, don't have to do anything.
They're happy.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be done, I think, if there's 400 acres, like you say, I mean, it's doable in the community, I think, as long as you have support with other people.
Yeah, I think it is doable. I think we have the volume. And, the time that I talked to, Lucero, and I told him, the acreage here, he was shocked. He just goes, wow. And I think a long time ago, they used to buy, the olives here. And he said, you know, he can kind of remember it. And, the trucking was, of course, a problem, and getting enough volume to fill up the truck and send it, once a day. Probably, and he said, one thing he just kept saying over and over, the olives, you had to press them the same day or the first thing the following day, or he didn't want them, because he said the quality just went down. If you store them, you know, just try to store them, the quality just goes down fast. For the oil, in order to get the top price on the oil.
So how quickly does it have to go from picking to the press?
24 hours.
Yeah, one day.
That would make a local press almost mandatory for some purposes.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
it's fresh,
it
of
was.
course, like, you're getting it back in one day, you know, finish and take down stuff.
Can you pick 5 acres in one day?
With the right number of.
Yeah, we gotta have
Under
the
the skill pickers.
people that are skill pickers, yeah.
The guy that came up had 60 pickers, 100 ladders, and,
Wow.
I think it was 3 days they were done with my mom orchard.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's quick, and then they had them on a big truck heading south, so.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he paid per box, I could probably find out.
Yeah. Well,
And I'm not sure, you know, we didn't get any paper or anything, so my mom was kind of leery on that. She's all like, I don't get any cash. So, you know, they could have been, you know, illegal for,
yeah,
across the border,
yeah,
farm workers, so.
right. That's one thing, if we did form a group, you know, we could have standardized, contracts or agreements, for different things to kind of protect the growers, and so, they've got some confidence in what's happening.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
How much skill does it take to be a picker? Obviously, senior citizens are out, but how much
Yeah.
skill does it take to be a picker?
I mean,
Well, we've had, I think the guy that's picked the most that we've known about, I've seen it because it's picked my orchard too. I think the most he picked was about 65 boxes in one day.
Wow.
40 pounds over a ton, all by himself.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's really fast. Right now, probably a really fast guy can pick, you know, about 20 boxes in one day.
And does he have to have special training or just show, you know?
it isn't like you and me though. It's not a teenager from down the road.
No,
Like, it
no.
is not, like, when
what
I
they
have
do.
done it foolishly, I've gotten maybe 2 boxes, you
Yeah.
know, and like hurt for 3 days.
Yeah.
So
Those
this
are
is
really
not
I've
a
been there.
thing
I've been there.
that we can just do. I mean, Brian is like a champion, but I don't know anyone else who does their own orchard.
Well, you've also gotta be careful how they're picked, you can damage the trees
Yes.
if you don't know what you're doing.
Yes. Or get dirty olives, like too many leaves, or they
Yes.
pick them off the ground, or
Uh-huh.
don't want that, yeah.
Mhm.
So, so tell me, and I think we talked about it some, it's cheaper to bring up a mechanical grower.
You mean
Mechanical
mechanical
picker.
tree?
A mechanical picker.
Not for our trees.
Yeah.
Well, they do it all the time.
Well, yeah, but those are roads specifically for that, and they're cropped, so you can run down your roads and mechanically pick.
Yeah.
You've got a tree here, a tree there, and a tree there, it
But
just
then
doesn't
they've got
work.
some at 6, and,
Really?
yeah.
They do, it's a special pruning process for the tree.
Oh, you have to prune them,
The tree stalks and the limbs are bigger, and so they have smaller branches coming off the stalks. So if you have smaller branches, they'll just bust off when you're shaking it, so it's a process to get them to where you can use the shaker.
yeah.
And then I think you have to spray the trees with, release agent to get them to drop easier, so.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if it's organic or not, when they spray them with the release agent or whatever.
Your picking cost goes down, doing that, and I.
Well, what's
I
the
get-
spray release cost, what's the additional cleaning cost?
I don't know that. But I know that they, once you're done shaking, you still have to send the pickers in to get what did fall.
Didn't drop. And you've gotta get them off the ground, or is it in your
Yeah,
collection?
You know, it's like an orchard, or, the nuts, like walnuts and stuff.
Almonds and whatnot.
They've got canvas under,
Okay.
they drop on the canvas.
That's how they do pistachios.
Some of the orchards that are, my mom's orchards, the trees are way far apart. They're not as close as they are down in Orland. We could actually double our orchard by putting in between, sides. So we could actually plant the rows and, but it takes, 5 years to get to harvest age, so.
Yep.
But then you have to get every other grower to do the same thing, if they have space enough to do. And then they can just do the mission thing.
We did in one of our meetings, have somebody here, from one of the co-ops, and they would be willing to provide those trees for mechanical harvest free.
But then they probably want us to rip out all of our
Well,
old
of course.
trees too.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you had gaps, and maybe you can minimize, and I thought even of maybe opening up some more of my acreage that I don't currently have in anything but just,
One of the,
fallow ground.
one of the, great things about the way the trees are spaced up here, given, global warming and the uptick in frequency of severe fires, is that spacing, helps with
Right.
helps buffer that fire spread, right? Especially if the trees are pruned and clean. Now, if you have trees that are right next to each other, oh boy, that fire is just.
Well, that and olive knot
Sure,
passes easier if you're real
Sure.
close.
right, yeah.
We had a woman speak here, who was a grant writer. She took, when you hear what she spoke, she took over an association that wasn't doing well, and she started writing grants, and she got really tremendous. And she offered to write grants for us, but said we first have to form an association. There's all sorts of weird ways to get money. We're in a society that doesn't want to create carbon. But when you take the truck 200 miles, you create a lot of carbon coming back and forth. Plus, there's always the traffic accident rate on big trucks. It's low, and it does exist.
Right.
And then next up, this country is full of people who are here illegally. Well, they're not gonna send them all back. Some are gonna get to stay, and when I was a child, we had what was called the Rosero program. And so they would apply for it, the Mexican people get their not citizenship, their temporary card. They come in for a harvest season, go home, well-to-do, and then come back, and it was a big plus for Mexico, it really helped the economy. There may be something like that in the offing where the federal government will help support for a period of time these people who they will give temporary permits to, are just temporary green cards, but not just for
Work
season.
visas is what it is, really. It's a temporary work visa.
Yeah, something like that, and as odd as that sounds, if we had an association, we could apply for that type of labor. And we used to have the Job Corps here years ago, and they had a center in Toyon. They built a bunch of small houses, and they housed, I don't know how many workers there. It was successful while it lasted, so there are different unusual avenues to get the economy economical. And I think $2 is pretty damn good.
form a co-op somehow and, get that going, and then go from there, right?
Okay, and what I'll do, I'll contact this nonprofit and talk to them about, you know, if we want to form, what do we gotta do?
Let's ask everybody here if they're interested in doing that first.
Is that what everybody thinks? Form a co-op?
Okay. Sounds
Is it
like we
co-op
have-
like an
Look into
association?
it, look into it.
Okay,
And that would, that might set us up for funding, a better chance of funding. It's tougher for a private person to get a public grant.
Yeah. Though, the ag co-ops, Glenn, whatnot, they did have grants for individuals to put in a well, improve a well. So in your own situation, there are opportunities for you, especially, you know, in the district, if they lose their allocations to the bureau, you better have well water to water your trees.
Well, from a district point of view, you think a co-op would help the district, secure more water?
No.
For the area?
We have an allocation on a normal water year of 15,300 acre feet maxed out.
Right here.
We would have to go and pay transfer fees, which we've done through McConnell Foundation or other agencies
If
to
it was a,
acquire water.
if it was an ag commission and we proved that there was more ag property here in Happy Valley than residential, would they go back to the old ag allocation?
They might.
Yeah, I think my answer to that is, I do think it would be helpful, because, you know, we still file, annual crop reports to,
Yep.
you know, we ask everybody to give their stuff, and we file that with the Bureau to preserve our ag portion of that 15,300, contract. So, yes, it would be much better to have the co-op and association and stuff like that. I think that would be kind of the nexus to ways in which maybe we could help have the co-op have some CSD like oversight or at least authority or power, or whatever you wanna call it, to actually get some of these resources from other avenues. You know, it's kind of speculative, but I specifically, if you have an association, co-op, again, I'm mostly familiar with, you know, sort of the grape stuff, so they basically report all of their harvest information as an association or co-op, and then that goes into the crop report for the county, that goes into all of the water, you know, application stuff. I would say yes, I think there's benefits.
Now we convince the board to have the water district associate with the
Yeah.
co-op is all.
I'll type up, the minutes from what we've done, and I'll send it to you folks. And then at the same time, we'll look into that, and I'll update you. And if somebody else wants to sit in this chair, wants to volunteer to sit in this chair, that's fine. You know, I'll just,
We close the nominations and you are it.
oh,
Thank you for volunteering.
generally,
There's only a 5-year term now. You'll be fine.
you know, my typical job is buying saw logs and generally selling saw logs. I don't sell
But, you know,
But, you know, if we
speaking
do
from
form an
somebody who has seen
association
it in
successfully,
other
we
parts of
will
the
have to
state,
have officers.
it's actually better to have an olive co-op association with somebody that is not in the biz in some way. So that's just my personal opinion on that.
Yeah.
So I think there's value there. And again, the district, you know, I'm volunteering my time to be here to have you come use this. My suggestion is you come back in February and do it again here and get a little report on what you heard from CAF and from others too.
Yeah. Okay, we can do that. I'm used to working with small private landowners. That's what I did my whole career. You know, like, inventorying, with timberland, or managing timberland, or buying, selling private landowners, and I enjoyed doing that. I didn't enjoy working for Cal Fire.
I have a question, the milling that they use, they grind up the pits and everything?
Yes.
Oh, they do, so you don't pit them, you just,
No, they put them all in,
that is crazy.
sort of filter out the leaves and rocks and, you know.
So there's a centrifuge.
Yes.
Yep.
Is it a centrifuge?
Yeah, so they run it through
So-
a crusher, you know, first to crush all of the material, and then they run it through a malaxer, which is basically a mixer, it's something that they use to tease the oil out of the mix. And then, once that's ready, once that's reached a certain consistency, and you can start to see the separation, then they run it through a centrifuge, and of course but even then it's not finished, then they send it to a separator, which gets it even cleaner, and then to your barrel. or
But
your
then
tank.
even in the barrels or the tanks, it sits for a month or two.
Yeah.
Sediments, yeah.
Yeah,
They don't use a press anymore?
no, you're talking about like the old fashioned
Right,
press,
it
it
was
was
wrong.
a gravity press.
Well, they put plates in paper and.
No, they don't do that anymore, no, but they do offer, filtering services, but that's a lot, you know, that's more money.
And it's not
That's
necessary.
more cost. It's nice because you end up, you know, you don't have to let your oil set, it's ready to go.
Cause I wondered if you put all those in a centrifuge, the meat would eventually come off the olive and come out without the pit, if it wasn't spinning fast enough. Centrifuge spins pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
Why do they want it left over?
I don't know why they would want what's inside the pit.
There's a little oil.
There's a little-
Yeah, and the pit and the meat is either animal feed or it goes back into the orchard as fertilizer. So, question for you guys, if you're using 10 gallons or so a year, how are you storing that? Because to prevent it from going rancid.
Oh, we keep it in the house in a stainless steel, we call them foosties, but they're basically,
In a dark
Container.
spot.
And dark.
yeah, I mean, it's typically pretty cool in the house, you know.
Right, except for the summertime.
Well, like there's some we keep under the house,
Okay.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
How do you
We have
keep
a
it,
cold.
Brian?
Yeah, in the house or in the garage, and like
Okay.
Betty was saying, you have to decant your buckets or barrels after a while.
Right.
You don't want them to sit in the sediment.
I've heard that you can store them more long-term, by refrigerating them. Yes, they turn cloudy, but bring them back to room temperature. You can even freeze the oil. And again, gradually bring it back to room temperature.
I think happy would just bottle it and put it in cases and leave it in the warehouse until we.
Cool, dark
farmers
spot.
markets and,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, he
so
kept-
it's dark, it's covered in dark.
yeah, his,
And a dark
his-
bottle.
yeah, his
Yeah,
building
dark
was,
bottle,
was insulated and he had,
Cool, a
AC in
swamp
there,
cooler or
yes,
something,
yeah, he would keep it pretty cool in there.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Something to consider.
You need cold storage.
Well, okay, if there's, something else, somebody has something to say, I think that's about it.
My mom used to make olive oil
Mhm.
when she first moved up here. But it turned out black.
Mhm.
She would crush all the olives herself and put it in a vat and,
Mhm.
yeah, that was back in the day when there was gravel roads all around
Mhm.
here, 1949.
Mhm.
It was black.
Yeah, I didn't remember if she said it tasted very good at all. She did, she said she did it, she did it for a year or two, and
Render
Yeah.
shop.
get Wesson or Crisco lard or.
Yeah.
I wonder if for next time we can bring a little bit of olive oil for tasting.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
maybe some fresh bread or
Those
something.
olives you cure, right?
Yeah, if you cure, announce it to, to people, maybe.
Yeah, that's
more
a
folks
really-
to
that's a
come
good
out.
idea.
Yeah.
Could use olive oil, olives.
Mhm. Because the
You
oil
know,
is very good.
This coming spring, we could have something at the, farmer's market,
Sure.
like what you're talking about.
We can
Tasting
sign you up
samples.
for the
Samples.
co-op as a vendor there.
Tasting.
Probably even let you slide without a cost for a while to promote it.
I don't know if the last time I told you I took first place in LA County Fair. I told you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of.
Well, that,
I gave some to my sister.
that's great.
Oh,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Paul?
Yeah, I think as we wrap up, that's kind of why I think coming back in February is good, because you're gonna then have something in March or April to start talking about the farmer's market.
March.
And, you know, having some sort of tasting, and getting it out, and have it on our website. So once you pick some kind of date and time, we'll try to keep it marketed as much. And I can ask the school, I mean, the school puts on their marquee, for us, and, you know, even though this isn't us yet, we can maybe have them put that on the marquee as well, that could help.
And we can
And,
get,
you know,
on YouTube.
I dabble in making my own wine, so we know about, you know, you gotta let the lees go out. I mean, you can do as much as you can when you press out, but you, ultimately, what we call racking the wine to get it off of the sediment or the leaves and stuff like that. So, now, if you bring some olive oil, I might bring a couple bottles of wine for you.
Who's bringing the cheese?
Um,
And the bread.
Yeah.
Somebody else that got anything? Person I was gonna talk to is out.
He'll be back.
On the phone, let's wait till he comes back, I've got one more.
He's not leaving without her.
I do, just wanna mention, we are so happy to share olive oil and happy to like talk more about this, but if we are marketing anything, Fern with the county is super strict about food rules.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I think
so-
I know her.
Yeah, yes, I'm sure. So, like, I think Brian was saying, you do actually need a commercial kitchen to distribute retail stuff. And so, like, you know, if, we would be happy to, share tastings at the farmer's market, but, we would rather not advertise that we're selling oil.
Understand.
Yeah.
Who's the man that's difficult?
A woman, Fern,
Woman,
she's
Fern?
the environmental health person with the county. She's very, very strict and has a nose for things
So
going
that's not
on.
with weights and measures, was that some agriculture, that she's in a different agency?
She's with the planning, code compliance, planning department,
Yeah.
yeah.
Environmental health code enforcement program.
Yeah.
Stainless steel and a smell of bleach.
Yeah, and 3 sinks and a floor
Yes,
drain.
3 sinks.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Is, everything still in Pepe's, warehouse? Everything?
Just the mill, all of the sinks, all of the stuff pertaining to commercial kitchen, that's all
Yeah.
But we can go online and look for things like that. There are restaurants closing and auction off.
We had a county supervisor here on our district who said he would facilitate if there's any problems with any county agency.
That's great.
Let's wrap it up. I always like to, it's always nice to kind of wrap things up with a song.
We'll listen to him sing
What
too.
is it next?
Is there anybody that can sing? No, I've heard stories,
No.
Yeah.
just going down the road in a pickup,
Yeah.
singing a song.
Was that singing along with the radio?
Yeah, well, we all sound better in the shower too. How about,
Yeah, the water drowns me.
1, 2, 3, we're adjourned.
Yes.
Believe me, Merry Christmas.
Thank you.